Commissioner.
Thank you, Troy. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners business meeting. This is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 at 1:30 in the afternoon. Would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. I think that's the loudest Pledge of Allegiance I've heard in the 4 years that I've been here doing this, so yay! We would ask that you wear masks, just like in a restaurant. When you come and go, when you're in your seats, you do not need to. So thank you for helping us comply with those laws. Mr. Ingalls, does everything on today's agenda have certification?
Yes, Madam Chair. My office has reviewed all items on today's agenda, and they all meet legal approval.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any of the commissioners have any disclosures for any items on today's agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
And I have none either. Thank you. So the first item of today's business is citizen comment. And this is for anyone who wants to comment on anything that is not on the regular agenda. So if you are here for any of the posted items, your turn will come later. But right now, this is just for anyone who would like to, in general, address the commissioners for any topic. Seeing no one, is there someone who would like to speak to us? Please come forward. And this is for something that is not on today's agenda. Thank you, sir. If you could please give us your name, spell your last name, and give us your address.
Absolutely. My name is Thomas C. Daly, Tom for short. I'm a resident of Sedalia, 3783 North Highway 67.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you. This is about some selective enforcement that we'd kind of like to see on Highway 67 especially. The posted speed limit is 55 until you reach a point near Toland Farms, at which point it becomes 50, going up into the canyon. Well, it is held not so much as a law as a suggestion by a great number of drivers, and I use that term drivers loosely. Steerers is closer. So I know the DCSO is pretty busy, but if they could just take a little wander up around those corners, especially just after where it starts to become 50, that'd be pretty neat. It's not about money, it's about people not getting killed, because we've lost one just below my house. So thank you for your time, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commissioners on a topic? Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no hands raised.
Thank you. Then we will close citizen comment and we will move to the consent agenda. Are there any items we need to pull, or do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion to approve all requests in items A through V of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. We are now moving on to our regular agenda. This is item number 4A. It's a resolution recognizing the many past and current contributions of Douglas County cattlemen and other livestock producers and supporting the local ranching industry. And Commissioner George Teal has a proclamation that he is going to read in support of this important reason that many of you are here today.
Just as soon as I pull it up.
I put it on your desk,
Oh, did you?
right there. Turn it over.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that help there. Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'd like to introduce a Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County, Colorado, resolution recognizing the many past and current contributions of Douglas County cattlemen and other livestock producers and supporting the local ranching industry. Whereas the Governor of Colorado has proclaimed a boycott of meat products referred to as a meat out in order to encourage meatless diets as promoted by the farm animal rights movement, also called FARM, I suppose, to be observed by Coloradoans on March 20th, 2021. And whereas the governor's meat out proclamation erroneously states that eating meat is unhealthy, causes environmental damage and pollution, and supports animal abuse, and whereas animal use is not animal abuse, and by financial necessity and natural inclination, livestock producers care for their animals as much as is humanly possible. And whereas the 2020 through 2025 dietary guidelines issued by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recognizes that a variety of animal and plant proteins is important to a healthy diet. And whereas cattle and other livestock are an extremely efficient means of converting dry land pasture grass to dietary proteins that are an important part of our citizens' diets. And whereas cattle and other livestock production has historically been and continues to be one of the key economic drivers of Douglas County, and whereas Douglas County cattlemen and our ranching families are part of a $4.2 billion state industry with a $40 billion economic impact and accounts for 10% of the state's total export sales. And whereas that the commissioners expressed their concern that the governor of Colorado would call for a boycott, even of a one-day duration, of an industry that is key and essential to both our local and state economy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners declares its support for our cattlemen and other livestock producers and proclaims March 20th, 2021 as Douglas County Cattlemen's Day.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. We're going to start with some speakers first. And the first one who signed up is Mr. John Anderson. If you can come up here, give us your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is John Anderson. Anderson, Anderson. I live at 4745 East Upper Lake Gulch Road, Castle Rock, Colorado, 80104.
Thank you, John.
First of all, I want to thank you all for making this happen for all of us. And again, I'm John Anderson. I own, I operate, and I manage a very large cattle ranch south of Castle Rock. This has a lot of meaning to us. A lot of people are appreciating this so much from all three of you. Also, what it means to me is I've been a board of director on CAF, that's Colorado Agricultural Leadership Foundation. I've been a member of the Catch a Calf, the National Western Stock Show, and I'm currently sit on the Douglas County Fair Board of Douglas County. And your support has spread all the way up to the leaders, top leaders of the National Western Stock Show, and they are very appreciative of what you're doing, and they're very grateful. And I'm sure I know that. So anyway, I just want to stress how important what you're doing is, helps build the education for our kids and keeps their interest and love for the cattle industry in Douglas County. And I think it says a lot for the whole state to hear what you're doing. It's outstanding leadership, and I think you'll see more to follow. Great job, folks. So that said, and I appreciate your support, I'm going to see if I can get some more support, that I have barbecue tickets for sale to anyone in here who would like to. They are for the Douglas County Fair Foundation. It's going to be on Saturday, March 20th. Why that day, I'm not sure. Starts at 11:30 and goes till 2 p.m., 1,400 hours at the First Tier Bank parking lot at 120 South Wilcox Street in Castle Rock. They're asking for $8 suggested ticket price, and you'll get burgers, chips, beverage, and Dairy Queen Blizzard. I don't carry change, so if you got $10, that's just where it's even better for us. I want to thank you all very much. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Mr. Gary Debus. Say your name, spell your last name, and your address, please.
I will do that. Thank you. Gary Debus, D-E-B-U-S. I reside at 7392 Rainbow Creek Road in Sedalia. I'm a proud Douglas County cattleman. And I can't tell you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, how appreciative we are of the leadership that you've shown. And your resolution says much of what I would have said. The nutrition of the livestock industries. And when you think about the economy in this state, it's not just the meat producers or the agricultural industry. The additional people that are supported and have employment in a variety of sectors in industry, from warehousing to distribution and transportation, the grocery stores and the restaurant workers. And after we've been shut down for a year, think about the restaurant workers and one more day on a Saturday that they wouldn't be able to get a tip for selling a $50 steak. It's almost embarrassing. But nonetheless, I just wanted to say thank you. You know, it's been a pleasure to be able to serve Douglas County. I'm a past member of the Fair Board for 8 years, and I currently serve on the Livestock Committee, or the Livestock Auction Committee. But more than anything else, we appreciate you. Thanks for taking a stand.
Thank you, Mr. Debus. And our last speaker is Ms. Lori Kelly.
Good afternoon, Lori Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y, 19,005 Lemasani Road in Calhoun, Colorado. And I am the Douglas County Farm Bureau President, recently elected. And to go back a little farther, I actually graduated from high school here in Castle Rock. And it was amazing to see this resolution that you folks put together to recognize agriculture and especially the cattlemen in this county. And I see it as a big step forward for our state, and I really hope that others will follow suit with you guys, because agriculture is so, so crucial to the well-being of our economy and the lifestyle of a whole lot of people. So thank you again so much for stepping up and doing that for us.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. I would like to point out that Miss Rodeo Colorado Haley Fredrickson has joined us. Haley, would you please stand? So she is also here supporting the important industry of agriculture here in our state and our county. So thank you, Haley, for coming here. Any other citizens here who would like to address the board? Hello, Bruff.
I apologize for not signing up, but John didn't tell me I had the opportunity, so I'll blame it on him. My name is Bruff Shea.
We need your name, your last. Oh, we're going to do that?
I'm sorry.
Got it.
Yeah, jumped the boat here. Bruff Shea, S-H-E-A, live at 2036 Deer Path Trail in Franktown. And I just wanted to say that my wife and I both consider ourselves, we're natives of Douglas County. And I think we may, I know we're not the only ones, but certainly not many of us left. But, and my wife's family homesteaded their ranch in Franktown in 1873. And so we appreciate what you're doing. We've been active in 4-H, the Douglas County Fair. Our kids, our grandkids have all benefited greatly, received college education through the programs. And what you're doing today, we appreciate you doing that. It's hard to believe that our governor would do this type of thing for such a wonderful part of what our state's about. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shea.
Yep.
I'd just like to announce that Todd Ingley and Nita Howard from the Colorado Beef Council were trying to get here. Have you gotten here yet? Okay, they planned to be here and weren't able to, so they also were going to come to honor the agricultural system here in our county. Troy, is there anyone online who would like to address the board?
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. I have no hands raised. I did get a message from Mr. Dirtz out in the lobby that there are folks out there that would like to speak on the cattlemen's item. Perhaps we could switch some out.
Okay. If a few of you would be willing to walk out so we could get some other speakers in here, we certainly would appreciate that cooperation.
Thanks, Chad.
John, will you be in the lobby selling tickets?
I will be.
How about in the lobby?
Commissioner Thomas, while we're waiting, I do have Bob Welch, who is a call-in. He would like to speak while we're waiting for someone to come in. Would that be all right?
That would be fine. Mr. Welch, if you would like to speak, if you could give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Name's Bob Welch, W-E-L-C-H, 9895 Oak Springs Trail, Franktown, Colorado, 80116. Want to apologize for not being there in person, but just as a second-generation Douglas County cattleman, want to thank you for this resolution and for all the recognition and partnership the commissioners have given to private agriculture and the beef industry over the years, and kudos on making this happen.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to address the board on the Cattlemen's Proclamation? Hello, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Fecteau, last name F-E-C-T-E-A-U. I would like to thank the board very, very much for protecting and being so grateful of our rights of agriculture. I'm a generational dairy farmer. We have a raw milk dairy. Our address is 1469 East Snow Road. So my husband Dwight and I are at the historic Alice Ranch, just at the Greenland exit. So they homesteaded in 1887. Agriculture obviously has been that far back in Douglas County. My daughter is a CSU college student going to school for agriculture. Our baby is 7 years old, and he is growing up in the lifestyle as well. We take care of our animals in a very organically natural way, humanely. Small livestock ranching. We do raw milk dairy, beef. We finish hogs. We have Langhen chickens, and then we also do honeybees. So we do a complete diverse farm the way my parents, great-grandparents did back in the 1600s. So we're so thankful to be in the county to be able to share the foods that we raise with the local residents that live here. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Anyone else would like, please come forward, sir. Give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please.
Name is Doug O'Brien, last name O-B-R-I-E-N. Address is 9855 Wycliffe Drive, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, 80126. Just a quick comment. I realize that this probably isn't interactive, but it occurs to me that a lot of stuff that's happening in Douglas County, including the Cattlemen's Proclamation, I would be curious to know how we work with other counties to get them on board with the same thing, because we can't solve the insanity for one county. We've got to make sure other counties get on board. So if it's not being done, whether it's the Cattlemen's Proclamation or the things we're going to talk about here in a little bit, I would hope that the members of this council have a plan for collaboration with the other counties and putting pressure. Let's take best practices of what's happening here, push them out to the other counties, because again, we can't solve this problem on a county basis. We got to fix the darn state. So.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, and I'll just let you know that I know of at least 17 other counties are doing the same resolution this week and next, so thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the board on the Cattlemen's Proclamation? Please come forward, Mr. Weens. Senator Weens, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good to see all of you here today. And thank you so much for taking time out of your important work to take a deep breath in this crazy world we're in today, to think about some of the core industries that have meant so much to the history of our state and will hopefully continue to mean a great deal to the history of our state. And here today, of course, there are many of those industries because we are so uniquely blessed with such a great entrepreneurial environment and economy here in Colorado. And that entrepreneurial spirit and that never give up spirit of people who live through the Dust Bowl to carve out the agricultural backbone of this state is still alive and well. People need to know in the state of Colorado how important that industry is, not only financially, but to the history of our state and to the future of our state. And there are very few things that one can do to give our children a better education than to help them understand agriculture and how short-term work leads to long-term productivity and long-term results, and that's what you have to do in agriculture every single day. And that's why I'm so proud that we still have an FFA chapter here in Colorado, that we still are in Douglas County that's very active. We have 4-H, we have all of the traditions and the teaching and the education that goes on there. And the fact that you all have taken the time to draft this resolution and that you're calling attention to this and trying to help educate people on something that really shouldn't need that much education, given the fact that we have about 2.85 million head of cattle in the state of Colorado pretty much all the time. And we have about $3.7 billion of beef products that are sold within this state. This is a real major industry. And we need to protect that by making sure that the people remember where beef comes from. And in Colorado, it comes from Colorado. And we have the opportunity to continue to produce beef here. We have the opportunity to process it here. There are lots of things happening that I think are going to make farm to fork more profitable, more available, and the more people are educated about that, the better it's going to be. So your resolution is very much appreciated from those of us that are in the cattle business, those of us who finance agriculture, which we do both. And I really very much support this resolution and commend you for bringing it forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Any last speakers on the Cattlemen's Proclamation? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Haley Fredrickson. Last name is Fredericksen, and I live in 50105 County Road 17 in Wellington, Colorado. And as a state representative of both the professional sport of rodeo and agriculture, I want to thank you for acknowledging such a vital industry in our state. A state that is so embedded in the Western lifestyle, and we need to keep preserving that. And with my platform of being an advocate, I want to continue and preserve that industry outside of this title. So again, thank you for preserving that and continuing our agricultural industry and being proud of something Colorado has so much history in. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fredrickson. Any last speakers on the proclamation? Yes, ma'am. Hello.
My name's Katie Ross, ROSS. I live at 4887 Mustang Circle, Sedalia, Colorado. I again want to say thank you like everyone else. This is really important to me. My family raises Black Angus cattle, and we take care of one of the oldest ranches in Sedalia, Bar 66 Ranch. You know, a lot of people don't understand that this industry is not just beef. Cattle yield a lot more products. You know, a steer will yield about 550 pounds of beef, and then the rest of that goes into road base. You know, bases for medicines, strings for tennis rackets, buttons. It's a big industry. It's not just beef. And so when we talk about, you know, eliminating one industry, it filters into so many others. And so we just really appreciate you standing up for this. You know, agriculture is a big industry in Colorado, and we want more young people to go into it. You know, the average age of a farmer in America is 65, and that's really scary if you like to eat. So,
We do.
You know, that's something that, you know, we want to encourage young kids to go into. We want to preserve that here, especially in Douglas County. And so I'm really proud to be from this county that's upholding this. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Any other speakers on the Cattlemen's Proclamation? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Job Knight. I'm a first-generation cattle rancher. I reside at 8368 South Perry Park Road, Larkspur, Colorado. On behalf of all future farmers of Colorado and Douglas County 4-H youth and FFA, thank you for fighting for beef.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers on the Cattlemen's Proclamation? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I guess I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Haley Coggins, and I guess I would classify or put myself as a representative of 4-H. So I guess to start, 4-H is extremely important to me. I mean, from the beginning, I never would have learned half the things I know now if it wasn't for 4-H. Responsibility, public speaking, all of this stuff ties into it. And part of the reason that I know that is because I do the activities that I do. Livestock judging, I'm now showing steers. I do market lambs. All of this stuff has taught young individuals how to fight for what they know and kind of the truth around all of this. I guess I would really appreciate any sort of fighting for this industry. It's something that provides for our economy and all of the essentials that we need to make agriculture grow. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coggins. Would you mind giving us your address, please?
3796 North Highway 67, Sedalia, Colorado, 80135.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Any other speakers for the Cattlemen's Proclamation? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have to tell you, as a fifth-generation Coloradan from a small rural community, semi-rural community in northern Colorado, I am heartened to see you all here today. I'm truly heartened. And I guess I am disappointed that you all came here for the wrong reason. You're not here to thank us. We're here to thank you. You're going to hear a lot today about personal responsibility. And we don't think government should be in the business of telling you what to eat and how to manage your lives. The three of us know that agriculture matters, and I'm incredibly honored to serve with both George and Laura because the three of us support you 100%.
Commissioner Teal?
Thank you, ma'am. Usually, occasions like this, I like to tell a joke about being from Greeley and recognizing the smell of the governor's proclamation. But there's something very, a bit more important beyond the joking around when you talk about the cattle industry in the United States. There's a book written almost a decade ago called Nature's Metropolis. It's really a history of the city of Chicago. And so you're going, okay, George, what the heck does that have to do with what we're talking about today? Part of that was talking about westward expansion of America and driving the cattle industry into this area, into this place where, as the proclamation says, we found the extremely efficient means of converting dry pasture grass to dietary proteins. And it's those dietary proteins, it's the beef, it's the cattle that were delivered to the American markets that helped to create America, make America what it is. You could go around the world, in other parts, you'll find cattle. America made the cattle industry something different, something special. And the cattle industry and the cattlemen of America and Douglas County helped make America something different and something special. Again, you guys came here to thank us, but we're here to thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. I would just like to add that our governor is a gay man who has long advocated for government to stay out of the bedroom. We are here today telling him we want him out of our kitchens and out of our dining rooms. We're going to be talking about personal responsibility and choice in a few minutes. But we don't want government telling us what kind of cars to drive. We don't want government killing our gas and oil industry, and we don't want government killing our agriculture and our cattle industry here. So thank you for all showing up today. And with that, I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution recognizing the many past and current contributions of Douglas County cattlemen and other livestock producers and supporting the local ranching industry.
Madam Chair, I'm honored to second that motion.
And I'm honored to say we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. So thank you to everybody who came here for the Cattlemen's Proclamation. We are going to be changing the order of the agenda, and we are going to be moving to the supplemental agenda, item B, which is the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County petitioning the state to safely and fully reopen our county and economy without delay. Commissioner Layden, would you like to read the resolution?
I'd be pleased to, Madam Chair. The Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, Colorado, petitioning the state to safely and fully reopen our county and economy without delay, thus allowing our residents and business community to exercise personal responsibility to determine how best to protect their health and financial interests. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners, the board remains concerned about ongoing business restrictions and closures, personal liberty restrictions, and harm to individual mental health and the general public welfare as a result of long-term and overly broad state government action. And whereas the board has repeatedly requested that data-driven public health recommendations from scientific experts to preserve public health remain intact, excessively broad and inconsistently applied state-mandated restrictions should be fully lifted and restrictions and rescinded by the state. And whereas what started as to severely restrict businesses and personal liberties for a short period of time to, quote, flatten the curve and provide the hospital system time to ramp up, grew into a series of more than 350 executive orders during a full calendar year and numerous, often inconsistent, related public health orders that controlled and continue to control numerous aspects of the daily lives of all Coloradans, including all Douglas County residents and businesses. And whereas the hospital system and public have responded heroically, and according to CDPHE, as of March 3rd, 2021, only 341 people in Colorado were hospitalized for COVID-19, well down from a peak of 2,000 on December 2nd, 2020. And whereas in Douglas County alone, there were 12,667 private establishments at the close of 2019, all of which remain restricted as of March 9th. And whereas, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, Colorado lost $7.12 billion in real GDP between the fourth quarter of 2019 and the third quarter of 2020. And Douglas County lost an estimated $373 million over that same period. And whereas Colorado began 2020 with the nation's fifth lowest unemployment rate, and today has our county's fourth highest unemployment rate, our country's fourth highest unemployment rate, having lost nearly 270,000 jobs over the course of 2020. Whereas per capita income declined $2,813 in Colorado and $3,609 in Douglas County from 2019 to 2020. And whereas there is no guarantee that these jobs and income losses will ever fully be restored. Whereas the negative impacts to the mental health of our citizens, young and old, from indefinite closures has greatly increased. And according to a recent Colorado Health Foundation study, more than half of Coloradans have experienced increased mental health strain during the pandemic. And whereas, according to the recent Associated Press report, drug overdose deaths have increased in Colorado amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the number of people with some level of immunity to COVID-19, either through contraction of the disease and or receiving a COVID-19 vaccine, has increased dramatically, and Colorado is approaching herd immunity, especially amongst the most vulnerable. And whereas 57,716 residents of Douglas County have received one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine as of March 3rd, as well as 223,369 residents in Tri-County Health's jurisdiction have received one dose as of March 4th, as well as 965,945 Coloradans have received one dose as of March 3rd, and 73.6% of those aged 70 plus in Douglas County have received the vaccine since March 1st. And whereas the state has not issued any guidance or criteria to indicate what reopening looks like or requires for any citizen or business, and whereas the commissioners have taken oaths of office to uphold the federal and state constitution and believe that in the current state of recovery and prolonged lack of severity of the ongoing pandemic, the restrictions can no longer be considered reasonable or rationally related to the risk that most individuals face. And whereas, although some federal and state subsidies have been provided, they have fallen well short of the harm caused by the ongoing state government restrictions. Whereas the board's repeated attempts to engage the state in a dialogue of ideas, proposals, and pilots to rebalance and alleviate the impacts on citizens of state-imposed COVID-19-driven lockdowns have received limited and even then delayed response or engagement from the state. And whereas the state has failed to demonstrate the use of county-specific data and severity metrics, as in our county deaths and hospitalizations, in the development of the COVID-19 restrictions dictated by the dial, and the continuation of broad restrictions still being imposed by the state do not match the low severity of the COVID-19 pandemic at this time, as measured by the incidence and test positivity rates and hospitalizations. And whereas the board believes that the state's mandated restrictions continue to unreasonably infringe on the constitutional First Amendment rights, as well as life, liberty, and property interests of Douglas County businesses and citizens. And whereas the county has repeatedly asked and expected to use Douglas County resources and personnel to enforce these overly broad state restrictions against Douglas County citizens and businesses. And whereas Douglas County citizens continue to express concerns to the board in ever increasing numbers that the county should not be involved in such unconstitutional enforcement efforts and should instead do everything within its power to allow people the various constitutionally guaranteed freedoms they have been deprived of by their state government. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas, State of Colorado, that the county will uphold their oaths of office, support the Constitution of the United States and the State of Colorado, and hereby petitions the state to immediately, fully, and safely reopen our county. And be it further resolved that the board does not wish to mislead any person or business that Douglas County has the authority to allow reopening without potentially severe repercussions to any such business from other entities such as the state or Tri-County Health Department, but can only assure such individuals and businesses that no retribution should come from this county. And be it further resolved that Douglas County is requesting that the state immediately issue a full reopening plan so that the public is fully aware of when and how normal activity can occur without further government restrictions. And be it finally resolved, the board believes that Douglas County citizens are capable of exercising personal responsibility and making meaningful and safe decisions with respect to their personal health circumstances, jobs, businesses, and personal lives, and will do so far better than government.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Would you like a few comments before we start citizen comments?
No, please, Madam Chair.
Okay, we will go ahead then and start with citizen comments. And the first individual who is signed up is David Jablonski. And if you could give us your name, spell your last name, your address, and you have up to 3 minutes, please.
All right, good afternoon, Council. Thank you. My name is Daniel Jablonski, Jablonski. I actually reside in Arapahoe County at 3540 South Washington Street in Inglewood. I'm here in support of lifting the restrictions. The first piece of evidence I want to present is we've been told COVID is not political, doesn't see red or blue. On March 5th, article here from CNN, the Biden administration tells facilities for migrant children to reopen to pre-pandemic levels. That in itself should merit no further argument as to why the citizens of America should also not be restricted from these pandemic orders if we are going to allow pre-pandemic levels for for people who are not citizens of our country. Then why should the citizens of our country be restricted to these pandemic orders that are hurting us in every single way? I have compiled data here of states with the most restrictions and the least restrictions. The orange bars represent the restrictions and the time frames that they've been put in place. With that, I've compiled data trends of the top 5 states with the most restrictions and the least restrictions. If we go through the states with the most restrictions, starting with New Mexico, we notice that they have pretty much no new cases until the end of September, when we see a heavy spike. Next in line, New York. New York got hit, then it went down, end of September. Spike. Rhode Island, smaller state, smaller numbers, same trend. Maine, same trend. Now on the states with the least restrictions, starting with South Dakota. Nothing until the end of September. Same graph. Oklahoma, same graph. Idaho, same graph. The point is, coronavirus appears everywhere at the same time. It disappears everywhere at the same time. Restrictions or not, it doesn't stop the trend. The trend is the same. It's ridiculous. So then you look at the United States. This is much harder to see, but I have a red line and a yellow line there. The red line represents election day. The yellow line represents Joe Biden's inauguration, when the virus begins to magically disappear.
Mr. Jablonski, if you could wrap it up, please. Your 3 minutes is up.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wanted to get into science, where it talks about overweight and the ACE2 receptor. But thank you all for your time, and I hope I can get more. Thank you.
David Calland.
Thank you, Council, for this opportunity to talk. It's the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me.
Thank you, sir.
My name is David Calland. Last name is Kalland. I live at 5917 Raleigh Circle in Castle Rock, Colorado, 80104. My comment is more of a financial one. If I done my looking right, there was a bill passed in 2020 called Encouraging Masks for All Act of 2020. That bill set aside $5 billion for the states to basically encourage people to wear these things. Okay? I'm curious to know how much of that money Governor Polis is then finally getting down to you guys. You know, is there a financial incentive here to keep us locked down, to keep us wearing these, because he's getting a financial allocation from Uncle Joe every month to do this. So I just didn't know if anybody on the council was even aware of this or even heard of this bill, but this bill nearly set aside $5 billion for him to get a monthly check from the feds in order to keep us masked down. And if he's getting that money, where's that money going? Is it going into the counties? Is it going in yours pockets? Is it going to help us, the citizens? My wife and I have a little dog treat business I started 4 years ago. We've been shut down for the whole year. I have obviously physical problems with her. My wife is the same. She has 2 artificial heart valves. So we've been self-quarantined, just doing it. We're responsible people. We know how to take care of stuff. Now, if I was able to, I'd be going to farmers markets if they were open, whatever, and be able to sell and be able to support ourselves. But that's just not happening. So I'm just kind of curious, you know, just kind of, they always say follow the money. I don't know if anybody on the council was aware of this bill. Like I say, it's called the Encouraging Masks for All Act of 2020. It set aside a big chunk of money that gets handed out to the states to encourage you to wear this, not mandate it, to encourage it. I don't want, you can encourage me all day long. I'm glad to get encouragement. I'm glad to get direction. You know, you can encourage me to save money. Great, do that. But it's my decision to do it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calland. Mindy Jordan.
Hi, my name's Mindy Jordan, Jordan. I live at 5807 East Monument Drive, and I am a 5th Colorado native as well. Strong roots here in Douglas County as well as Jefferson County. I have a 16-year-old son, and my daughter is actually 19 today. She graduated last year in the midst of everything. Luckily for my kids, though, their lives haven't had to change too much because we already homeschooled, and we already had alternative plans for graduation. And my family does not live in fear, and we went forward with all of that. My son has had to have a few adjustments with his co-op and things like that. But I want to speak for those that were juniors last year and lost the end of their junior year and didn't get to have some of the traditions of their senior year and are continuing to live in limbo on, will they get to have a senior prom, just even for seniors, you know? I also do work in the elder field and specifically in dementia, and loved ones have lost so much time that we don't know how long our loved ones are going to remember us, and we've now lost a year with them and making those memories. We don't have that time to lose. We need to open up, especially in Douglas County. We need to be bold. So thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Craig Barber.
Thank you. My name is Craig Barber, B-A-R-B-E-R, 8605 South Brentwood Street in unincorporated Littleton. I'm here speaking for some of the voices who can't be here, including a friend of mine, Steve, who opened up the Astro Tap in Castle Rock just a couple of years ago. He did pass away last April due to COVID, but he did have some underlying issues, and I think there were 2 transplants before that ever came around. I also do events at several places in Douglas County, just Purgatory Wine Cellars Reed's Southside Tavern, Fanouki's. These are places that didn't open up under the premise, we can actually make money if only half of our seats are filled. Guys are charging admission, you'd have a profitable day today, all your seats are filled. But the restaurants can't do that, and the bars can't do that. So if you have a problem with the large bars opening and spread of coronavirus, I understand. But the restaurant industry, sit-down restaurant industry, has contributed to less than 2% of all COVID cases from day one. But they're being hit the hardest. And this is middle-class people, this is your neighbors and places you can go and exercise your First Amendment rights by going out and having a brew, having a glass of wine, having a chicken dinner. All these things that we've taken for granted and stopped doing as much and ran through the drive-thru until drive-thru became our only way we could get food outside the house. So I would take your motion a step further and say, not just give an opening date, because I know what opening date they're going to give. It's going to be the day after the 2022 election. If you look at the color guides on the timeline, you can't do this. You have more than 2 households here and more than 10 people. This is illegal, according to the code that they're writing. Laws are supposed to be written by the legislature, not by health departments. So I appeal to you to go to Tri-County Health, get them to reverse everything they possibly can, get the restaurants open, put people back to work. One last thing, if you talk to any of your law enforcement people about homelessness, if you talk to community organizers and service workers, what's the number one overriding issue on homelessness? And they'll tell you, every single one, mental illness is the biggest, largest section of our homeless population. So what the governor is prescribing right now is to keep everybody locked down and isolated, and they're writing a prescription for more mental illness and more homelessness. So it's an attack on our economy, it's an attack on our middle class, it's an attack on, making us all homeless at some point in time. So I hope you take your measure even farther than that.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Daniel Bristow.
Hello, my name is Daniel Bristow. I live in Monument, 1433, last name Bristow. Live in Monument, 1433 Red Micah Way. I shared some information in Monument at a Board of Trustees meeting from an executive order that I'm going to share with you all here. And this is for everybody here listening as well. I am a small business owner and I support small businesses. And the information that I'm going to share, I think, will be direct evidence that we have the freedom to make these decisions and to continue working. It's D-2020-017. This executive order came out on March 25th, 2020. On March 5th of 2020 was the first reported case of COVID-19, so that puts us a year in the rears. Page 2. Section 2 under directives, Part C. I direct all businesses other than those qualified as critical businesses under Public Health Order 20-24 or any public health order issued pursuant to this executive order to close temporarily. And this is the part that sticks out to me. Except as necessary to engage in minimum basic operations needed to protect assets and maintain personal functions as of the effective date of this effective order. So that clearly tells me that they want non-critical businesses to shut down unless you need to protect your assets. Who doesn't need to do that? Page 3. That's right. The truth is always hidden in plain sight. This is nothing more than a contract, and this contract we either accept or decline. So anybody that closed their doors, they accepted that contract willingly, and maybe even potentially without taken the due diligence to research this executive order, which spoke the truth. Page 3, section number 2. Individuals must be permitted to carry on basic activities necessary to care for themselves, their families, and to maintain their place of residence. The public health order must therefore identify authorized activities individuals may engage in consistently with the goals of this executive order. But right there it tells you, you're permitted, right, to take care of yourself, your family, and your property. How can you do that if you're not working? I'll say it again. It's a contract. You either accept it or you decline it. Okay?
And you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. I printed this off after I read it and I put it in my car. And I continue to go to work. It's sad to see other people, shutting down their businesses. Destroying livelihoods in the name of saving lives isn't saving lives. And that's all I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bispo. Terry Eigner.
My name is Terry Eigner. I live at 8045 Blue River Avenue, Littleton, Colorado 80125. Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the children. It's been a year now. My youngest child is 3. This has been a third of her life. She's barely 3. Also, I have a kindergarten student. My kindergartner missed out on what should be one of the most wonderful times of her life. I also want to mention that I'm an educator. I have a degree in psychology, a master's in family and child development, a minor in early childhood education, and a concentration in early childhood special education. I was a teacher for 15 years. I worked with at-risk students who were abused and neglected. What we are doing to our children is criminal. Masking young children, we're taking away their ability to see faces. That is the way that they decipher the world. Through emotions. That is the way they learn language. That is the way that they communicate with one another. The things that they are learning are things that are going to be very difficult to undo. And I also want to mention that the governor's orders have impacted our families immensely. Because of these things, the schools have put masks for all children, even though he says only over 10 have to wear them. But all of the schools had under 10 as well, unless you went to a charter or a private school. We pay $600 a month to send our kindergartner to a private school so that she can be unmasked and not have to social distance. Also, a governor's orders, his power is limited to directing agencies, right? But they can only issue orders during an emergency. An emergency is defined as a health threat with casualty rate significantly greater than normally present. Since COVID-19's casualty rate now is officially recognized as not significantly much greater than the flu, there is no emergency order. Yet, he is still acting like there is. He just did another mandate for 30 more days of mask wearing. Again, children need facial communication and unrestricted air for healthy development. We do not know what will happen when we mask children for 8 hours a day. They should have the ability to have unrestricted air. These are unbelievable, ridiculous things. I can't even believe this is real life. IDEA law sections 300.114-300.118 requiring children to wear masks in school where students under state law breathe freely is abject discrimination in violation of this law. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Eigner. That is everyone who signed up to speak. Is there anyone else here who would like to come forward? Please come forward, give us your name, spell your last name, your address, and you can have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Joe Oltman. I live at 8245 North Keith Court. I know all of you, and I do want to say thank you to start with for taking a stand. So the fact that we even have to stand up here and talk about protecting meat that 98% of us eat, and a lot of it, is absurd. The fact that we're dealing in this bizarre world that puts us in a position where we have to talk about the will of the people and actually passing a resolution is also absurd. So last weekend we saw a bunch of young people in Boulder revolt against the authority that sought to restrain them for safety reasons. And something I found odd, mainstream media, when Antifa and they were burning down buildings and taking care of businesses, said nothing and said it was a noble cause. My dad is black, my mom is white, my whole family's interracial. I know racism. And what we're dealing with today is not racism. It's propaganda. It's indoctrination. Yet the students rose up and they called them disgusting. They are far from disgusting. They are fatigued and smart enough to understand the tyranny of our government is real. Polis is in fact a murderer and responsible for the countless deaths and disparities in our state. He ruled from the bully pulpit of California, not representing the voice of the people here in Colorado, the people he is supposed to represent. The attacks that we suffer in this state are a result of sociopathy, not because he cares about the people of Colorado. This represents the radical agenda that we've had to deal with over and over and over again, while the mainstream media actually ignores it, props it up, reveres it, while they push us down, push our businesses down, force us not to go to church or to take care of our kids. They pass mandates that kill kids. Last Thursday, a friend of mine's 16-year-old daughter committed suicide. That will be the 6th person that I know that died because of suicide. The consequences of this virus are real. So although this may be a largely symbolic vote, it may be a stand for Douglas County, it represents a bigger stand for the people of Colorado and as a message for other people in other states that it is time to stand up, that science and math matter, and that politics have no place in destroying the American dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oldman. Who else would like to speak? Come forward. We'll wait for you, Wayne.
I am Wayne Harlos, Harlos, 874 South Lindsay Street in Castle Rock. And I'm here on behalf of the Libertarian Party of Douglas County. Had an extensive meeting last week, and we spoke about the possibility of this happening, the resolution, and I congratulate the Board of the County Commissioners of Douglas County. Thank you for that. We very much appreciate it. But I'm not going to speak about the how bad this pandemic has been, whether it's been blown over or not, or overblown or not. But what I am going to speak to is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The mandate that's been put in place by our governor is taking away all 3 of those. If we actually believe in freedom and personal responsibility, we have to take a stand against overreaching government mandates. That's all I got.
Thank you. Who else would like to address the board? Just come forward.
Hello, my name is Jesse Sidabaka. I reside at 8685 Aspen Circle, Parker, Colorado.
Would you spell your last name, please?
Last name is spelled Cdebaca.
Thank you.
And I did not plan on talking today. I was just planning on showing up. This is the first government event I've ever been to. And I just want to say thank you all for your leadership, because we know whether direction is left or right, in and out, backward or forward, things happen based on leadership. And your leadership is shown through all the people outside who you can't see right now. Lots of people out there supporting you. And we had bad leaders lead us into bad situations over the past year. And now we have good ones that I believe are leading us out. And with the cattlemen's resolution, and this as well, I think it comes down to connection and perspective. Connection with people, connection with our source of food, connection with our livelihood, and perspective. Do you know where your food comes from? I'm a city boy. I grew up in the suburbs, and I'll just be real honest. I don't know where my food comes from, but I know it comes from the farmers and the ranchers. And God bless them. I want it to stay that way. I want that to be supported. When it comes to health issues or anything like that, connection and perspective. Mental health, emotional health, connection with other people, as the lady said, especially with children, connection with other people through the face. Perspective, we've had a year, an entire year to sit back and observe. Okay, now whether you believe the rates are going down through vaccination or the predictions were overblown, I'm just going to leave that to your judgment, but we've had a year and things did not end up the way they said it would, not even close. So we've had time to evaluate, and now it's time for you leaders to turn the tide, and you're doing that. You're doing that with your esteemed positions of leadership, so I want to thank you for that most of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sudbaka.
Morning. Afternoon. My name is Jim Morrow, 9474 Tammy Lane, Parker, Colorado. I'm also a Marine Corps veteran. And I can just see that a lot of us have fought communism. And they're doing stuff to our kids right now that we wouldn't allow the communists to do. And there needs to be a group of people that look at this, open their eyes, and quit being lemurs and rise up and come against this control that they're putting on our kids and our families. Thank you.
Sir, excuse me, would you spell your last name, please?
Morrow, Jim
Thank you,
Morrow.
sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Cassiano, Casiano. I reside at 21541 Omaha Avenue in Parker, Colorado. I'm also the former mayor for the town of Parker. It is an honor and a privilege to be standing here in front of you commissioners this afternoon because I believe in you, and I believe in all the people who are here this afternoon. I do not believe in a governor who takes a dictatorial stance and points a finger and thinks that he has the right to say who is essential and who is not. We have a great history in the United States, even a great history here in Colorado, in Douglas County alone. But James Madison, I think, stated it best. Signed the Declaration of Independence and put together the Constitution. He stated this: I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments by those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations. Then, in closing, I'll state this, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government. Yes. The people, I think that our governor, Jared Polis, will be a one-term governor. I also believe that the people of Douglas County are a microcosm of the United States of America because we believe in freedom. We believe in liberty. And we believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So it boils down to one simple phrase that I think all of us can walk away with today. And never forget, it is we the people. May God bless you. May God bless Douglas County, the state of Colorado, the United States of America, and may we all one time today take a few seconds and just bless God. Thank you.
Hi, still Doug O'Brien. I think you have my information already. Something is becoming obvious to me. We're preaching to the choir here. Pretty good bet we know what's going to happen, as far as the resolution, much as the earlier resolution. One of the things I'm asking myself is how do we move the needle? Douglas County will move the needle through the council. But strangely enough, I had it in my mind that this was the point of focus. You guys get it. You got the message. My encouragement is to everyone in this room and out in the lobby, we need to start pounding the living daylights out of Tri-County Health, Polis, and his people. And seriously, it's not that difficult to place a call tonight, send an email tomorrow, and then do it the same afternoon. Because seriously, that's how the needle gets moved. You guys can move this forward, and it's helpful. And Douglas County is a huge county. But it's kind of interesting. We're all showing up here, and we're feeding each other's stories, but we've got to go after the people that are not buying into this. We've got to start just making them feel a little bit of pain. So that's my whole comment. It's much like my earlier one. We got to make sure that we're getting the voices beyond beyond what you guys are doing. You're doing a fantastic job. We got to carry it forward, and that's done at the individual level. It takes very little effort, but we got to do it. So,
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Who else would like to address the board?
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Tom Weens. I live at 5567 South Prairie Park Road in Sedalia. You know, in this really difficult time of trying to get our economy working again and get people back into real lives, we have some pretty good cards in our hands if we'll just play it. Now is the time to play those cards, and you're in a really unique position to play them. And I think you can be successful with them. You know, we've got three things that are really going for us. First of all, our rights come from God. Second of all, we have a constitution that protects those rights. And we have free enterprise that gives free citizens resources to advance those rights. And in Douglas County, we happen to be really good at free enterprise. So you've got citizens who can support you, who can back you on this. You know, one of the things I learned when I was in the Senate is my district went from Douglas County all the way to Leadville. So Leadville was in my district. When I began representing Leadville, there were 14 operating units in Leadville that were in a Superfund. Superfund doesn't have anything to do with cleaning anything up, it has to do with lawyers and assessing blame. When I left, we had, I can't remember if it was 2 or 4 operating units. And the way we did that is we changed the way Leadville and Lake County interacted with the federal government and the state government. Every time they would issue a mandate on things that Leadville had already done to clean up the environment there, we would demand that they give us the statute and the regulation that gave them the authority to make the demands on the people of Lake County, and they couldn't do it. And they stopped doing it. And we were successful at moving the ball and getting Leadville out from under the thumb of the federal government on everything they turned around to do, they tried to do up there. Well, I would suggest to you that you're in a similar situation here where you can breathe real life into this resolution. You've got tremendous staff here. You've got great legal counsel sitting right over here. And that every time a government elected official, elected or not, tries to force a mandate on the people of Colorado and on the people of Douglas County, on behalf of the people of Douglas County, I would ask that you create the system building off of this resolution that stands up and demands that whoever that is, elected or non-elected, that they prove that they have the statutory authority to do exactly what they are doing, and that they're requesting of the people of this county and of this state. And they will have it sometimes, but they won't have it all the time, and we'll start moving the ball in the right direction. Thank you very much for your help, and I know you have the resources and the skill to do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Troy, I'm going to ask you, I just got a text from someone who said they were listening online and the audio stopped. Is there some way to verify that the audio is working?
I would ask that they would please chat me privately so that we can respond to them and see if we can help.
I will do that, Troy. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this petition to the governor? Please come forward.
I'm Brooke Chashvili. It's a fun one to spell. Cheishv, like Victor, ILI, 8978 Delacorte Street. And I wanted to speak on behalf of my little brother, Noah Carrillo. On August 23rd, 2020, sorry for the tears, his 26 years of life ended tragically after a long and horrific mental health battle. So sorry. If the same mandates that are in place today were not in place then, he would be alive today. The impact that masks, closed businesses, canceled AA meetings, virtual support groups, in other words, a complete lack of human connection, has resulted in the tragic loss of so many people, my little brother included. So thank you for what you're doing. And please continue to lead our country, our county, and our country back toward life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because so many lives are still depending on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the board? Ma'am, if you could leave.
So my name is Linda Bissett. That's B as in boy, I-S-S-E-T-T. I just want to come up here and I ask for you all to be brave and to do the right thing by opening up this county. I believe the science, although the media tells us to trust the science, they don't actually look at the science. The science shows that the death rate in America is very similar to 2019 from 2020. The science shows that there are about 2,000 people who have already died from the vaccines that are being distributed. You can find those numbers both on the CDC website and the VEARS, V-E-A-R-S website. I believe that this is, it's so hard to say, it's such a mass conspiracy that so many people could be in on it. It's mind-blowing that, that so many departments of our government are working together to shut down our economy, which does nothing but boost our corporations who have such influence over these same governors and kills our small business, which is who employs so many people and is the lifeblood of America, and they're being squashed for these arbitrary rules, like for some reason you can't get COVID in Walmart, but you can at the feed shop down there. It's just ridiculous. And then we're forcing people to wear these masks. It's like, I'm sorry, that does not save you from COVID. So it's just ridiculous. The emotional, psychological effect this is going to have on our little children. When I walk into a store and I see a little 3-year-old with a mask on, oh, we've made them cute with My Little Pony or whatever, but this is scarring these kids. They don't know how to read adults' faces if they can't see their faces. They have to learn. So our schools need to be open, our businesses need to be open, and we've got to stop lying to the flippin' people. Our media has ruled us by fear. They say the same thing over and over again. You're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. And if they say this to you, people are believing it. Let's start telling them, hey, guess what? The survival rate is 99.99999%. I mean, if we said that over and over again, people might not be so afraid, and we could be free and be brave, courageous Americans, which is what God created us all to be. So I'm here and I'm pleading with you and I'm begging with you to be brave, because it will be hard on every single one of you. I'm sure there will be ramifications if you stand up and open up this country, but that's what we're begging you to do, because we want to live as free Americans. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come forward. If you can give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please.
Connie Johnson, Johnsson, 940 East Plum Creek Parkway here at Castle Rock. And as I was listening to everyone, there's one thing that we have missed in talking about, and that's our churches. We go into our churches, we see masks. I sing on my praise team at my church, and I look out in the congregation with everybody separating out and with a mask on. And it brings tears to my eyes because I can't read them. I can't really see their hearts. And we need to open our churches up. We need to stop putting spaces in. And the fear that I see in my congregation, our congregation, just hurts my heart because of COVID, because they have to get the shot, they have to do this, they have to do that because they want to comply with the government. But we are individuals. And we want our churches to be opened up again, and so that we can sing and praise our Lord like we want to be. We've got a person in our church that his daughter, 3 weeks ago, tried to commit suicide, a 13-year-old. And she has, through this whole COVID, she's tried 4 times. And she's missed every time, thank the Lord. But we don't want to see this anymore. It just breaks my heart to see these kids and these adults and these senior citizens dying in nursing homes and without their families around. This is not to be what God wants us to be. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Please come forward.
Thank you. Do I have to wait for this minute to go down because I can talk real fast? My name is Jody Nickerson, Nickerson. I'm here basically because I'm not in your county, but I cannot, my hat goes off to you, to really be setting a precedence and stepping up to the plate to even have this hearing and to hear people in your community. My hat goes off to you. You're setting a stage for a lot of things going on in the state of Colorado right now. One of my thoughts is I have a grandson that's autistic. And these specialized schools and children with disabilities are having a really, really hard time at home because their facilities can't be open because of the COVID. The child now has gotten to a point by being home and doing things through a TV and trying to sit in a seat, which if you know autistic children cannot sit still. And he may have to be institutionalized now. Why? Because the mental trauma this is putting these handicapped children in. Another thing that I think is very important is for the many mothers and fathers who have had to stay home or change their job because they've had to stay home with their children. They've lost wages, they've had to change positions. It's affected a lot of people's incomes. I work with food banks constantly. I do 4 or 5 a week. I am with people that aren't wearing masks. They're homeless. They're living off the streets. I'm around them all the time. I have been blessed. I do believe that God will keep a shelter around me to keep me free from any type of illness. But I do know, and I want to say, there is an illness there. There is a bacteria. I don't want to make light of it. But I do think that people that have pre-existing conditions are the ones that really need to protect themselves. I have a 93-year-old very dear friend who has had COVID twice, 93, and she's just doing great today, just wish she could get out of her room. It's very, very difficult. Everybody is individualized, and we do have to make that very specific, that we should be able to open up. But those that have pre-existing conditions or those concerns, protect yourself. Those, I do believe that our numbers are down because we've had better hygiene. We've had better, but we should have been teaching our kids and ourselves that a long time ago too. But I want to thank you for having this. And I hope that my county will do the same thing, and I'm going to be watching you all. I think it's just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else who would like to address the board? Please come forward. Say your name, spell your last name and your address, please.
Hi, I'm Jess Bolin. My last name's spelled B-O-L-E-N, and my address is 529 North Nevada, apartment number 3, Colorado Springs, 80903. I'm here on behalf of nonprofits and people who serve the Medicaid population. We serve nonprofits through the Independence Center in Colorado Springs in Douglas County. We also serve veterans in Douglas County. I am a community relations specialist, which means I take calls from the public all day long of people needing services. And what I'm finding is people have been on hold for services in the veteran community and in the Medicaid community for way too long. I am dealing with people who break down and cry with me on the phone because they are scheduled for surgery. It's been put off for 6 months because they can't get into hospitals, they can't get services. I've realized I was hired as a marketing person. I'm now acting as a social worker in a capacity that I was never hired on for, but because of COVID and the pandemic, This is what I deal with every day. At the end of the day, I do want to have wine time, but what I realize is I need my own therapy because of the situations that I'm dealing with on behalf of the population. I'm asking to open up the county on behalf of Colorado, on behalf of our great nation. We need to be leaders and trailblazers in Colorado. This is the Western pioneer spirit. This is not the follower spirit that comes from other states and lands in Colorado and says, oh, I want to bring my liberal policies into this state because they're open. And no, we need to be trailblazers here. We need to tell our community, our state, and our nation what we're going to tolerate and what we won't. And when it comes to our least protected population, which is children, our disabled veterans, our disabled population, and people in the LGBTQ, we're talking homeless populations, they're not receiving services. We can lie to ourselves, we can say they are because they're getting telehealth, but the fact is, these people do not often have the iPads, the technology to connect to telehealth. My organization is shut down. The front door is locked. Nobody can come in from services. So what do I hear? All day long phone calls, people tears. This has got to end. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in the room who would like to address the board? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Jeanette McMahon. That's McMahan. And my address is 3519 Morning Glory Drive. I have never done anything like this. I've never even been in this building. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm a new mom. I have a 13-month-old, and she is my inspiration in this. I feel now more than ever that I more than ever have a deep responsibility to do something about the world that I'm passing to her. She's, like I said, she's 13 months. She was born basically in this pandemic. So everywhere we go, she sees people in masks. That in itself is so concerning to me. This has been spoken over and over again. Children need to see our faces. I do my best to not wear a mask as much as possible so she can see my face. It's so important. I'm also by trade a therapist, and my passion and specialty is holistic therapy, and it's rooted in this belief in our body's innate ability to heal. I believe that with my entire heart, my entire being. So even if someone wants to follow more of an allopathic approach, we know that we have treatments that are inexpensive, that are, so we can treat this condition, disease, whatever you want to call it, so effectively. And my big concern and my big question, I think that we have a lot of similar views here, so I'm preaching to the choir, but my concern is that these other alternatives are being censored. And there's no question there that there's only one perspective that is being listened to. And so what I have become very passionate about in this situation throughout this whole pandemic is our right to choose. I happen to wear this shirt today. I didn't know I was coming here. I didn't know this was going to happen, but my shirt says Mama for Health Freedom. And on behalf of my daughter and I guess everyone, that is what I'm standing for. I don't care if someone wants to wear a mask the rest of their lives. That would be concerning to me because there's many health concerns when it comes to wearing masks, but I'm really standing for that choice. And that actually lends into several other subjects that I know we're not talking about here today. But I thank you. I thank you for standing for this because it's so important. I could go on and on about this. But truly, I thank you for what you're doing. I believe in our body's ability to heal. I believe that we have other ways to approach this, and masking up and socially distancing, and from the therapist side, the isolation is detrimental to our health. The fear is detrimental to our health. All of these things are worse for our health than the actual disease itself. So again, thank you for what you're doing. I truly could speak on this for a very long time, but I will end there.
Thank you.
But thank you again.
Is there anyone else in the room who would like to address the board? Not seeing anybody, I'm going to go online. Troy, is there anyone online who would like to address the board?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Patty McGinnis who would like to speak first. Go ahead, Patty.
Hi, thank you. This is Patty McGinnis. That's McGuinness. And I live at 10531 Ashfield in Highlands Ranch. And my heart is still breaking for the brave woman that spoke and shared the loss of her brother. There's no doubt the pandemic exacerbates mental health issues. The pandemic is a global health crisis. Unfortunately, it quickly became a political issue. Having said that, I encourage the board to vote against Resolution 6731. I postulate that the Board of County Commissioners politicized the pandemic to the detriment of Douglas County citizens from the beginning, when the leadership of the state of Colorado instituted measures to protect our citizens, rather than taking the opportunity to unite the community to tackle a common cause, that is COVID-19. There is no doubt the economy and our businesses have suffered. Personal responsibility, though a lovely concept, is not a sound policy. Personal responsibility is a great political soundbite, but if it were effective policy, we would need no laws. As we are speaking today, our state and Tri-County Health are working toward responsibly lifting restrictions. This resolution is a divisive, irresponsible, uncooperative political maneuver. I'm curious to know what actions you have taken to unite the entire community and the input you've sought from all stakeholders on this matter, other than late announcement of the proposed resolution and packing the room with supporters. Further, the culture the board is cultivating in our community is outrageously disturbing. Commissioner Thomas's comments about our governor just now are blatantly divisive. I suggest that the Board of County Commissioners focus on uniting the community, stop grandstanding and driving a divisive agenda that does not serve, is not popular with a large number of Douglas County citizens who were not notified of this controversial resolution.
Thank you, ma'am. Troy, is there anyone else online?
Yes, Commissioner. I have Stevie Ramsor Nelson. You are unmuted.
Hi, my name is Stevie Ramsauer Nelson. Last name's N-E-L-L-S, and I live at 109 4th Street, Castle Rock, Colorado, 80104. And I just have a couple of quick points to make and also a question. So first of all, I have been listening to everything here today that people have said, and I very much agree with you know, the thing about the Western pioneer spirit and how tough we are on as Castle Rockians, as Coloradans. I was born in Castle Rock in 1980. My father was born in Castle Rock in 1951. My family's been here for several generations, but not so long as a lot of people's families. And people that I do know whose families have homesteaded here, and think about how tough they were, absolutely know that they had much larger conveniences than not being able to have restaurants at full capacity, honest. And part of me wonders where our toughness is on. The point I will make is that I own a small business sign here in Castle Rock that I inherited from my father. And if it's still running next year, it will have been running continuously for 40 years in downtown Castle Rock. That being said, of course I want this business to fail. Of course, this is my life, my home, my business, my house, everything, Castle Rock. If any of the money I make comes at the expense of the health of any of my neighbors, I am disinterested in that money. I do not care about it. And I think most people feel the same. I don't think that's an exceptional view. Most people understand human lives worth more than money. And I guess I will also say that, when growing up in Castle Rock, there were some times that my family was homeless. And I did, we weren't on the street, literally, we were in a car or something like that. But, being healthy and poor is so superior to being wealthy and unhealthy. And then the last thing is my question. As far as the resolution goes, the final part says that you all trust us with the responsibility to make meaningful and safe decisions in respect to personal health circumstances, jobs, businesses, and personal lives. And yet, think about the negative impacts of mental health on our citizens, young and old. I guess I don't understand why my physical health is my own responsibility, but my mental health in the interest of my local government. Yeah.
Thank you for your comments. Troy, is there anyone else online?
I have no other hands raised.
Thank you. I'm going to close citizen comment then and bring it back to the board for discussion or comments.
Madam Chair, and members of the gallery today and my fellow Commissioner Teal, thank you for just spending your time with us today. Have listened carefully to the commentary. And again, after a year trying to manage a global pandemic on a local level, we've been working with the experts and monitoring the data every day with Tri-County Health since this began. The statistics are real, and I think on the anniversary of the first death in Douglas County, or a death in the state of Colorado on March 13th, now is a timely time for us to reflect upon the metrics and look realistically at what has occurred. And I think we've heard that loud and clear today. I think what's obvious from the data is that as of today, we've had 233 deaths in Douglas County with an average age of 83. And as of today, 82% of Douglas County residents over 70 have received the vaccine. Again, Colorado, third worst in the contiguous U.S. for unemployment data, and the joblessness, mental health issues, and substance abuse continues. I take real umbrage at the notion that anything up here is made on a political basis, any decision is made on a political basis. I've personally lost 5 individuals that I know to suicide during COVID, and I know I'm not alone. There are a lot of people in this room and others that have seen the real world consequences of one-size-fits-all shutdowns. We're here because we honor your natural rights to freedom, and we want to uphold our oath to the Constitution of the United States of America. And my apologies again to the young woman who lost her relative. That is tragic beyond belief, and I'm so sorry for your loss. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Commissioner Teal.
Well, I'm real happy to be up here today. I'm real happy to be in this position. I'm not even going to pretend to have the words to equal what so many of you have shared today. I'm on it. We're on it. We'll do.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. I was struck by the number of people who came up here and said they've never done this before. I think that shows how deeply this last year has reached our citizens, and that they were willing to figure out how to get here to talk to us. And when we are having discussions, you will often hear us say, my constituent told me. And when I say that, I believe that all 3 of us strongly believe that we are here for you. And to have all of you here is so important to us, because we often have these meetings every other Tuesday, and we are speaking to staff and empty chairs. So thank you for being here. I served as the coroner in this county for 4 years, and I saw far too many people who died from suicide. And I still run a nonprofit raising money for people, to support people so they don't take their lives. And I know that that's a very personal concern to all three of us. So, ma'am, I'm so sorry for you. You would think that suicide is such a preventable death, but it is not. And all last year when I was asked what my concerns were over and over, I said it was the children, because we have no idea what we are doing to our children. And so I think that is why it's important that we are here as a board, and we know that there are commissioners all over the state who are having these same discussions and putting together the same resolutions because they have heard the same things from their constituents that we have heard. I think it's important that you all know that as much as we wanted to open this county up sooner, we do not have the legal ability to do that. The special executive orders that the governor has been operating under absolutely prevent us from telling all of you that you can do whatever you want because of the repercussions that are built into all the special orders. I'm sure Mr. Ingalls, our county attorney, wants to strangle us because we're always asking him, find a way to get this done. Find a way. And we've hired attorneys to do that as well. The repercussions would hurt our businesses so badly that we really made decisions based on what we felt we could do to nibble around the edges, to do as much as we could to support our community in any way that we can. I often say that government is supposed to add value to your lives. It's not supposed to be a speed bump or a roadblock. And I feel like I want to apologize to all of you for what government has done, because we have not liked what it has done to any of our counties or our state or our country. So know that that comes from the bottom of my heart, and I believe I'm speaking on behalf of all three of us. So thank you for being here, thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting us throughout the year.
Madam Chair, as a point of personal privilege, I just want to tell you what an honor it is to serve with you, and having dealt with this issue over the last year. And Commissioner Teal, I'm so thankful for your presence on this board. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County petitioning the state to safely and fully reopen our county and economy without delay, thus allowing our residents and business community to exercise personal responsibility to determine how best to protect their health and financial interests.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for being here today. We've still got more to go on the agenda, but I'm going to go ahead and call a break until 3:20. So the board will be back to finish the rest of the items on the agenda. And thank you again for all of you for coming today.
Good to go.
please.
Where's George? Good job. Where's George? I thought he was back there with you. I'm sorry. You saw me look over at you as soon as I saw Trump come in, right? Did you see me look at you? Did you know that's what I was looking at you about? There were a bunch of people that had signs and they were talking to me about the sign. I didn't see any signs. Yeah. That's why I told her, leave it there. You know, usually you're not supposed to let people talk and stuff. But I thought,
Troy, are we ready to go?
Yes, Commissioner, we are live, and I have started the recording again.
Chris, are you ready? Thank you. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. It is 3:22. We are bringing the regular business meeting back to order. The next item up on our agenda is item B on the regular agenda. It is a contract for the 2021 asphalt overlay project to Martin Marietta Materials in the amount of $10,125,454.13. And we have Daniel Roberts for staff. I am going to ask if my fellow commissioners have had the opportunity to read this packet, and if you have any direct questions for Mr. Roberts, so we might be able to speed this along.
I have read the packet, Madam Chair, and I have no questions for staff.
I've read it as well, and no, it looked pretty straightforward. I'm okay with it. Thank you, though.
Thank you. I read it all. It was very clear and straightforward. Thank you for all your work on this, and I think we will just move this straight to a motion. Thank you.
Got the next one, too.
Okay, we'll take a motion on this one first.
Madam Chair, I motion to...
Oh, wait, I forgot citizen comment.
You need to at least
Thank
ask
you.
for public comment.
Are there any citizens who have citizen comment on this item? Seeing no one coming forward in the room, Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
No hands raised, Commissioner.
Thank you. Citizen comment is closed, and I'll take a motion.
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, motion to approve a contract for the 2021 asphalt overlay project to Martin Marietta Materials Incorporated in the amount of $10,125,454.13 and a $300,000 contingency fund. Project file is CI 2021-003.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item C. This is the intergovernmental agreement with Elbert County to share costs of an asphalt pavement overlay on Delbert Road from East Parker Road to Singing Hills Road in the amount of $250,000. Again, I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners, did you have a chance to read the packet, and do you have any questions?
Same answer, Madam Chair. I've read the packet and I have no questions.
Yeah, I was able to go through it, and I do not have any questions.
We had a work session on this also, so it's very clear to me. I have no questions. I'll open this up for citizen comment. Are there any citizens who would like to address the board on this topic? Seeing no one come forward, Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no hands raised.
Thank you. I'll close citizen comment. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement with Delbert County to share costs of an asphalt pavement overlay on Delbert Road from East Parker Road to Singing Hills Road in the amount of $250,000, part of 2021 asphalt overlay project number CI 2021-003.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Moving on to item number D, this is the Reuter-Hess Recreational Authority 2021 capital assessment in the amount of $250,000. Steve Schultz is here for the, if we have any questions, I am going to ask the board. Did you have a chance to read this item, and do you have any questions?
I did, and I have none.
I did, and having participated with Castle Rock in the same sort of funding, I do not have questions, but if everybody would like, I'm happy to speak for 30 minutes about how cool it is. But I guess we don't want to do that.
I don't see a second for that motion if you just made one.
We can, I do not have any questions, Madam Chair, and we can definitely go to public comment if we need.
Thank you. I also read the packet. I have no questions. You always do a good job with all of these. Steve, you're doing such a good job in your new role. Thank you. Are there any citizens here who would like to speak on this topic? I thought you might come up here, Merlin, but I appreciate you not. Thank you. Is there anyone online who would like to address the board on this topic?
I have no hands raised.
Thank you, Troy. I will bring it back to the board for a motion.
Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Reuter-Hess Recreational Authority 2021 capital assessment in the amount of $200,000 and would like to speak in favor of the motion.
Second.
Can I just hear again how much the amount of the contract is for?
I'm reading $250,000.
I didn't hear 250,000. I just wanted to clarify that. I apologize if my hearing is off.
Is this where I get to speak in favor of the motion for 30 minutes, Madam Chair?
No, it is not.
Oh, man.
So we have a motion and a second. Did you second the motion? Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item E, this is a resolution authorizing the Colorado New Energy Improvement District to conduct the CPACE program in Douglas County. Carmen Jackson Brown for staff, is that correct? Yes.
Good afternoon. What's before you as agenda item 4E is a resolution concerning the authorization of the Colorado New Energy Improvement District to conduct this new energy improvement program, also known as CPACE, in Douglas County. CPACE is a financing tool that allows commercial property owners to finance certain qualifying improvements on new or existing construction. The repayment is structured through a voluntary assessment on their property tax bill. Any participating county will receive a 1% collection fee based on the assessment over the life of the loan. Participating counties are also required to adopt a resolution as well as execute a participation agreement with the New Energy Improvement District Board in order to participate in the CPACE program. Both of those items are before you for consideration as agenda item 4E. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Any questions?
Thank you, Carmen. I have no questions for you.
I have no questions.
And I have no questions either. I will open this up then to citizen comment. Are there any citizens who would like to address the board on this topic? If you can come forward, give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please, and I will start the clock when you start.
David DiCarlo, 5660 Wickerdale Lane, Highlands Ranch. I'm going to read a statement today because I don't want to miss anything and I don't want to create any confusion. Normally I kind of just go, but I want to hit all the high points. So I'm going to start with a quote from earlier that Commissioner Layden gave. We don't, I'm pretty sure I got this right. We don't think government should be in the business of telling you what to eat or how to run your lives. Government should not run our lives. But how can that be said if we keep interjecting government into everything? How with a straight face in the same meeting that you all voted to petition higher government for removal of government restrictions, can you cast a vote to insert a government into another area of life? So government should not tell us what to eat or drive, or going back a few years, how we flush, or what what we eat, but it should collect private debt. Are you for limited government or not? Because I've got mailers from you guys saying and promising us limited conservative government, and this just isn't. This is adding government in again. So what's the grift? What are you getting for it? At least be honest and tell us, because nothing comes free. And I understand it's small and it won't impact this and that. If it costs 1 penny, 1 penny, it's too much, especially right now for taxpayers. We already gave $10 million from a $500 million county government to a $1 billion school district that you might as well pull it over here on a pile and let on fire, considering what happened afterwards with COVID. Why do we have to keep? This is the 3rd time this thing is voted on. How many times will it come back from the dead? It's like a Bela Lugosi movie. Here it is again. Stab it in the heart and it just comes back because there's something someone's getting from this. So be honest. Tell us what it is. Why does it keep coming back? Is it campaign contributions? Is it a special something? What is it? It's toe in the door and back for more. It's small and iniquitous now, but just like every government program, it will grow. Government programs know only growth. They're parasitical in nature. They do not lob off an arm for the good of a host. They mutate. A word we're probably all tired of hearing. So let's keep government out of the bedroom and out of the garages and bathrooms and kitchens and living rooms and out of the position of collecting debt for private industry. The force of government doesn't need to be applied. It's between 2 private citizens. If so, if we're going to do this, let me know what the amount is. I would like a moat and a deer stand on my property. So how much can I give you guys for a variance to have those things in Highlands Ranch? Because that's about what we're looking at here. So I do thank you for the good work you do, and I do recognize it. But if I fail to hold you accountable on the things you do wrong, the things you do right aren't worth a damn. Thank you, and you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo.
And as a point of personal privilege, Mr. DiCarlo, you've testified a couple times here before. I hope you stick around for the answer.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on this topic? Please come forward, give us your name, spell your last name and your address, please.
It's Kelsey Alexander, Alexander, and my address is 2075 Marlin Way, Castle Rock. And you guys all know me. You know me quite well. You know what I stand for. And I think I know you too. And I know what you stand for. And I like the job you're doing. DiCarlo, you did a great job. I don't need to repeat all that he said. But you guys are for less government. That's what you stand for. And this is not less government. This is more government. And if we have businesses trying to come in here and build something or develop something or create jobs, great. You've been very supportive. I'm a business owner in this county. I know that. But we need to get our own loans. We need to stand on our own 2 feet, and we don't need government to play a role in it. That is not the proper role of government. There are some sticks that come with this. If a borrower defaults on a loan, the county can get stuck having to pay for it. Do you want to burden me as a taxpayer with that? Do you want to be burdened with that? If there's a tax lien filed, maybe this business that got the loan under this program doesn't pay their taxes, and we file a tax, normally we would file a tax lien, and Mr. Gill would do a good job of that. Well, I purchased tax liens myself in this county, and I almost got a beautiful piece of property. I missed it by like a minute. It would have been fun if I'd gotten it, wouldn't it, Dave? But the county will not be able to file tax liens on these things either. There's all kinds of ramifications that we don't even know about. But the bottom line is, it's more government, and the county does not need to be in the banking business. We don't need to be in the business of collecting money for people and moving it elsewhere. So please vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Anyone else who would like to address the board on this topic? Coming forward is Treasurer Gill. Are we going to hold him to the 3 minutes, or as an elected official, can he have more time? I would like to give him more time.
That's okay by me.
That's fine.
Thank you. Actually, I'm 2 elected officials tonight.
Our assessor wanted to speak, but she was not aware of the change in the schedule, and she had another appointment that she had to leave for. But she did have a prepared statement, and she asked me to read it to you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Frizzell, and I am here in my capacity of Douglas County Assessor as well as a citizen of the county. The conversation about adopting CPACE in Douglas County has been percolating for several years now, specifically as new construction projects are proposed but are unable to obtain traditional financing. This shortcoming is not a reflection of a poor economy, a culture unfriendly to business, or a no-growth philosophy. Rather, this is a reflection of the financial viability of these projects. The spirit of CPACE is to provide a funding mechanism to replace aging or inefficient building systems with those that meet efficiency criteria for energy and water use. However, it has expanded to provide up to 20% of the development costs for new construction as well. This is concerning because these are riskier projects by their very nature. I am fundamentally opposed to government interference or competition in areas that lie squarely in the private sector. It is not up to us to interfere with the market forces and tip the scale in favor of one developer or development over another. I am not only opposed, but find this growth in government to be a horrific shift in our responsibility as elected officials in Douglas County. While I'm not alone in my thoughts on this, I do not have a vote here. So as such, on behalf of our citizens and in the spirit of transparent and accountable stewardship, if you vote to participate in CPACE, this effort needs to have independent oversight and administration. I ask that you consider this option as you consider Douglas County's involvement in this program.
Thank you for reading that for Lisa.
Thank you. Commercial loans have shorter terms to limit the risk. And one of the reasons is commercial loans have higher risk than residential and have higher rates of failure. As you probably know, I've been a commercial lender and have been an auditor of commercial loans and have audited and risk-rated loans for a major thrift. So I've seen a lot of this from different vantage points. During the S&L crisis, many of the loans that defaulted and brought S&Ls down were the commercial loans. Frequently, they were on apartment buildings. The S&Ls had a specialty of lending on multiple family dwellings in excess of 6 units. And they took a pretty bad hit rather suddenly in 1986. And that was one of the major causes for our S&L crisis. The Colorado New Energy Improvement District memo to Colorado counties and CPACE stakeholders dated June 8, 2020, on page 3 states, and I quote, "The cash flow generated by the property during the past 12 months exceeds 101.25 times the sum of the amount of the annual assessment plus any interest expenses associated with any mortgage debt for the past 12 months. They appear to be talking about what's called a debt service ratio. A debt service ratio of 1.25 is normal for average risk loans and should be considered a minimum. It generally is much higher on new projects that don't already have an existing track record or other high-risk loans. The formula for calculating the DSCR is net operating income divided by total debt service. In looking at the net operating income, or NOI, they left out taxes, insurance, debt amortization, reserves for replacement, and other normal expenses such as reserves for vacancies. That needs to be subtracted from the gross before you calculate NOI. They didn't do that. In other words, their published underwriting guidelines are substandard and below industry norms. Giving a person a loan when they don't qualify is not a kindness to them, nor does it help the economy nor their business. because ultimately these criteria are there for a purpose. That is what we need to have a safe loan for everyone. An example of this is Fremont County. They have a CPACE loan that points to a significant design weakness for counties in this program. Normally, when taxes aren't paid, as was said by a previous person, we'll notify the people, we'll tell them your taxes aren't paid. As of July 1st, we send out a notice saying you're delinquent. We encourage payment. If it is not paid by September, we advertise the property and we have a tax lien sale. What happened in Fremont County is what I think will happen anywhere with any CPACE loan that fails. Simply put, when we sell a tax lien, we are selling a tax lien. There's no other cost. So the investor bids on an interest, they get a tax lien. If they come back, taxes aren't paid after 2 years, they buy it again, they pay the taxes. The county and our metro districts are whole. But after 3 years of that, they are eligible for a treasurer's deed. So we can issue a deed. That treasurer's deed does not carry any mortgage obligations behind it. Any mortgage obligations are gone. And they get the property for that amount. What Kelsey was talking about is she had done that on a lot. And she came within minutes of having that treasurer's deed issued. She made a very nice interest on her investment, and the county and all of our metro districts, our schools, everyone else was whole. They get their payment every year as a result of the tax lien sale. A couple months late, but they're paid. With the CPACE loans, the mortgage payments follow the property. So if we were to have a mortgage lien sale on a CPACE loan property, the same thing would happen to us as happened in Fremont. They've got to disclose that this is not just the tax you're going to be paying. You're going to pay the tax and the mortgage payments, not only for the 3 years, but the balance of that loan passes. I mentioned before that commercial loans often have shorter terms, and there's a reason for it. They're high risk, and generally they will age a little faster. In this case, that person who maybe get a treasurer's deed now is also responsible for the remaining up to 27 years of loan payments, of mortgage payments. What's happened in Fremont is going to happen elsewhere. No one is going to want to take on that amount. It's not financially viable. Result is, as one treasurer put it in a conversation recently, CPACE has created a new tax-free class of commercial property. And this is something that is not in the benefit of the county, not for any of our taxing authorities. So I would urge that you would vote against this, but if you feel that you must vote in favor of it, I would ask you to strongly consider two things, because I think they will protect the county. One is CPACE put in place an irrevocable bond that will pay for any taxes that weren't paid if the property doesn't sell at a tax lien sale for a 5-year period. And second, I would ask that you also have a clause in there that allows you as county commissioners to review each loan to be certain that it is in the best interest of the county. If you do those two things, still don't like the program personally, and I don't want to be in the business of collecting debt for a private company. I don't want to be in the middle of two business entities. But if you want to do it, we can do it. But we need those two things to protect the county. I'd like to give you a copy of what Lisa gave me. And also, I didn't bring extra copies, but I do have a copy of the full testimony that I would have given today. I'm cutting it a little short because today's running a little long. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you'd like to give those to Mr. Ingles, please.
Yes.
These will be labeled Exhibits 1 and 2 for today's business meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Ingles. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to address the commissioners on this topic? Seeing no one come forward, Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online who would like to address the board?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I have first Grant Nelson. Grant, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Grant Nelson. I live at 731 Norwich Court, Castle Pines, 80108. Commissioners, I appreciate you taking this issue up, and I don't want to elongate your meeting because I know it's a long one. First, I want to thank you for your previous 2 resolutions. I listened in on all of those and greatly support your actions on both of those. And specifically, trying to open up our county again. As a retail developer over the last 28 years in Douglas County, I've built almost 1 million feet, and I can tell you the impacts of COVID and these elongated closures are devastating to many small businesses. A lot of the tenants that we lease to and a lot of the small businesses are really hurt. And so everything you do to get these guys open is greatly appreciated. I also greatly appreciate you guys being willing to hear the CPACE arguments again. I have a company by the name of Integro Strategic Finance. We work with companies not only in Colorado, but throughout the United States to help them understand and better and best utilize CPACE financing. So we have closed over 20 loans in multiple states. And one of the hardest parts about CPACE is education. I feel like there's a lot of questions and a lot of issues that are being raised that are just potentially not knowing the full depth and breadth of the issue. One of the issues that keeps coming up is that these are different than typical districts. The CPACE financing was set up under Title 32 statute. I'm not an attorney, but that is the Metro District statute. We have Metro Districts in our county. We have many of them. They collect taxes from not only residences, but they collect them from businesses, and they remit them back to the bondholders. So the county is involved in this in a multitude of locations throughout the county. CPACE financing is heavily underwritten. The Fremont County was a error. It was a bad loan, and it was not properly underwritten. But to my knowledge, in the 2,560 CPACE deals that have been completed across the country and nearly $2 billion worth of financing, there have been 2 of those loans that have become delinquent and in default over the period of time that the Fremont County is. So 2 out of 2,560 and $2 million worth of financing, they are fairly safe loans. They're relatively safe. Everyone has a different definition of safe, but typically in 90% of circumstances throughout the state, and in every circumstance that I've worked on so far on a CPACE deal, there has been an underlying lender. So the first deed holder is the one who gives the original lender, is the original lender on the building. We have to get their consent for these CPACE loans to go into place. That consent, it allows for them to go in place, and it requires that underlying lender to underwrite the property. They will only underwrite and consent if it's a loan that they want to or feel is a benefit to the asset in general. One of the other critical pieces that doesn't get brought up is these are not typical loans. Because it's an assessment, these loans can never be called. They can't be accelerated. The originating lender can only rely on that annual payment from year to year. So the debt service coverage ratio and the loan to value ratios as it relates to a CPACE payment are different than a typical loan, because not only is there savings from the energy savings that the items that go into the building save, but the taxes that are added to the property in the form of the assessment do come out of the NOI. The commissioner or the treasurer Gill is correct, but there's usually a savings equal to or sometimes greater than that of the tax assessment. So it is not an easy calculation. It's a very thoughtful calculation based upon engineering estimates. And I would tell you, these are the lenders in this space are very conservative, and the lenders who allow the loans to go into place are conservative as well. So I, again, don't want to take up your entire day, but I appreciate you guys considering this again. I was recently named to the statewide New Energy Improvement District Board last fall. And if anyone has questions, I've offered before that if I can be a resource to anyone in the county, I'm happy to discuss that with them. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Troy, is there anyone else online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Marcus McGaskin. Marcus, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Troy. Commissioners, again, thank you for your time this afternoon. I would like to also echo Mr. Nelson's statement. I have been on for your entire meeting. So thank you very much for the cattlemen's proclamation. I'm not a Colorado farm guy, but my grandfather was a cattle rancher back in Michigan. So I appreciate what you did there. I would also like to note, just for the record, that as the New Energy Improvement District has been expanding its program throughout Colorado, we have financed some energy efficient improvements and water conservation measures on agricultural properties as well. So all of those folks that were there for the meeting earlier could potentially benefit by this partnership with the New Energy Improvement District. I would also like to note that Mr. Gill's statement regarding the Fremont County situation, Mr. Nelson mentioned this as well, but it is one of only 2 defaults in the entire nation of over 2,500 projects. Given that the New Energy Improvement District took proactive steps to change its underwriting standards to require an appraisal to establish the lien to property value ratio on projects where there is no mortgage. And that was the situation on the Fremont County project. There were a number of other issues with that project, but there was no senior mortgage holder or construction lender in place that had to separately underwrite the CPACE financing. So I do believe that the district board and the stakeholders have taken proactive steps to update the underwriting standards. And there are a number of projects that, it's my understanding, a number of projects in Douglas County that are ready to go. And I do think that this would be a very important economic development decision for you all to make. Thank you again very much for your time. And if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to try to answer those to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there anybody else online, Troy?
I have no other hands raised.
Thank you. I will close citizen comment then and bring it back to the board for discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate all of the input, citizen comment, and certainly respect the valued input of our elected officials in Douglas County. I do want to address some specific comments that were made. Mr. DiCarlo indicated to us that he had a question about whether or not there was grift. I want to be very clear. We receive nothing politically or personally as a result of passing this particular measure. If we do that today, I get nothing out of that, and I took $0 from any special interest in my campaign for county commissioner. I want to be really clear about that. Here's the deal. So this is 25-year fixed rate financing with 1% going back to the county. So the county actually expends $0 on this and gets 1% back. I just want to be really clear from a land use and legal perspective that we have received just to explain the background. So we've heard specifically about financial risk to the county. So any failure to make a payment on CPACE assessment will give rise to the exact same consequences as a failure to pay ad valorem property taxes. So that's a penalty, interest, and fees, as well as a tax sale to recover the amounts owned. People have talked about, whether a property owner fails to pay a special assessment when due. If that occurs, the county has to advertise and sell the property pursuant to CRS 3220-107-4A. The sales are made at the same time. Obviously, certainly the county is required to follow standard Title 39, Article 10, Article 11 procedures. Treasurer's deed is issued at the same time after 3 years from the date of the issuance of the certificate of purchase. The tax lien or issuance of a treasurer's deed will not wipe out the district's special assessment lien, and that's Title 32. So the district's assessment lien continues to run with the land until it's paid in full. We've heard of a second scenario where a mortgage holder initiates foreclosure proceedings. And again, as we've heard from the private sector professionals, over 2,500 C-PACE projects have been financed in the country and 2 have defaulted. That's like 1% of 1%. So let's acknowledge the good odds there. If a foreclosure did arise, the county's role in a public trustee foreclosure process remains the same. So there's no change to the public trustee foreclosure process where a C-PACE assessment has been filed against the subject property. Once a lender has acquired title to the subject property through a foreclosure, the lender becomes the property owner of record and will be required to pay the C-PACE assessments that accrue from and after the date of acquisition of the subject property. So the third one is we heard what if the project's not completed? So again, if there's a default during the construction period, then the assessment and financing agreement has to be deemed a consensual lien granted by the property owner to secure the C-PACE financing, which may be foreclosed as a mortgage lien in Colorado. We've also heard about additional manpower and work for the county. With all due respect, we've heard based on conversations that the district program administrator, SRS, has had with treasurers throughout Colorado. Treasurers estimate that each C-PACE project takes a county approximately 30 minutes of their time per year, a half hour per year. For this work, the counties receive 1% of the annual assessment and a fee paid to the county for the duration of the financing term. So, I think there are a lot of benefits to doing this program. Opting for the C-PACE program will have minimal impact on county resources. Again, no governmental funds required. Projects are financed through qualified capital providers. Participation will help us accomplish some wonderful economic development goals. And I don't want to be on the side against our economy and against our economic recovery and against our business community that has begged us to institute this program. I don't get anything out of this, but our economy does. So I'll be in favor of this resolution. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Teal?
I'd also like to speak in favor of the resolution as well. The Colorado New Energy Improvement District is essentially a means of defeasing risk through the power of the state. That's really all it is. There's a lot that goes along with it, but that's really all it is. I'm sure a lot of people don't understand and don't really know that there's a United States Army for the purpose of defeasing risk in the exercise of Republican government in the United States of America. There is a United States Navy strictly created, only created, to defease the risk of maritime trade for ships that fly the flag of the United States of America. It's the only reason it exists. The only reason we have a United States Marine Corps, because they get to help the Navy. Yeah, and if anybody's a Marine vet, I was in the Army. We have a Coast Guard that was not created to defease risk. It was created in order to recover revenue on behalf of the United States of America. However, if you turn on the Discovery Channel, I think you'll find a couple programs that talk about the search and rescue operation that the Coast Guard is very proud of right now, strictly for the purpose of using the power of the state to defease risk of maritime trade and fishing industry and, other people that are operating boats under a United States flag. The formation of the Colorado State Patrol in the state of Colorado was strictly for the purpose of defeasing risk of automobiles to travel the roads of the state of Colorado. I'm very proud, having had my prior job for 6 years, of the work of the Castle Rock Fire Department here in Castle Rock. They strictly exist for the purpose of defeasing risk that most of us who live here in Castle Rock recover based on lower home insurance rates. And there is a perfect correlation between the home insurance rate that almost all of us pay and the quality of the fire department in our area. So to say that there's no role for government in the purpose of using the power of the state to defease risk, come on, guys. Actually, most of government exists in order to do something to defease risk. Here with CPACE, actually, I think it's perfectly reasonable. And I really appreciate I really am good friend. Everybody says, oh, my good friend, the treasurer, Dave Gill. Actually, Dave and I really are good friends, and he really hates that I do not see eye to eye on this. And Dave, I still love you, buddy, okay? But the bottom line is, in the examples you gave, the actual risk assumed is not a financial risk, that involved investment by the county. Actually, Fremont County did have an investment in it. And this is the thing that's not talked about, why it's such a big thing with Fremont County, because of the incentive dollars that Fremont County put into that project. And they lost out on. I would highly encourage my colleagues that we probably shouldn't do that for a CPACE qualified project moving forward. But the bottom line is, there was no other inherent investment by Fremont County. For CPACE, I've gone through it over and over again, and where's the investment that our county is going to have to make in these projects? And the answer is really none to be required here. So the investment risk is still borne by the lender. And as far as the role of the government to use the power of the state to defease the risk, I don't know. I think it's rather clever. I don't have anything against it. As a matter of fact, I like it. And now, as we approach a period in our history of our nation, in the history of the county, where we know the threats that businesses have been under over the last year, and we know this is a program that our businesses can be used to recover from an economic crisis created only, not by market conditions, but only by government interference in the free market, I honestly cannot look out at a business person who would wish to make use of this financial instrument and say no. So I believe this is the right time. I'm definitely speaking in favor of the resolution and am planning on voting yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Teal. I serve on the CCI board, that's Colorado Counties, Inc., and Debbie Bell, who is a Fremont County Commissioner, is the president of our board. And I asked her about CPACE, so I'd like to read into the record the email she sent to me explaining the Fremont County experience with CPACE. The problems we have with CPACE loan for the largest building in Florence, a historic 3-story vacant building on the middle of Main Street. They received about $600,000 for a heating system efficiency and other upgrades. The additional funding the owners needed to make the entire project work was in place, but unfortunately, one of those funding entities did not come through with their promise. We think the property owners were dealt a bad hand by another entity, and that funding fell through. The owners did not take the money and run. They truly tried to make the project work. The owners eventually walked away from the property because the project was no longer viable, so Fremont County was left holding the 2018 tax certificates and now the 2019 tax certificates. And we expect the same this year for the 2020 taxes. When it went to a tax sale in 2019 for the 2018 taxes, our county treasurer rightly explained to potential buyers the loan and its subsequent annual payments of about $58,000 a year for the next 20 years that were attached to these certificates. No one bid because they weren't willing to accept the $1 million liability. Originally, the CPACE program had said they would be there at tax sale to purchase the tax liens, and then they would be responsible. They knew what was happening and that they were liable for those tax liens. However, they did not show and still have not shown. So the county still holds those liens. Our county attorney worked with the CPACE attorney for over a year. The state was working to find a way for the bank to take over the property to get the county off the hook for all of these special assessments. The state was working with the lender and told our attorney that they, the state, would enter into some kind of an agreement to sell the tax certificates so we could get out from under them. Then the bank could start collection efforts. We thought it would be resolved fairly quickly. However, we have not heard from CPACE now in over a year. Last February was the last communication we have had from them, although we keep them apprised through our county attorney. They are well aware we now are 3 years in default and they have done nothing to help us. They also have become unresponsive to our inquiries and apparently are no longer willing to step in to help. CPACE was asking us to not deauthorize the program in Fremont County. They have 65 other loans around the state, and this was the only one in default. It's also the only experience we have with CPACE, and it left a terrible impression with us. We were ready to end our program here in Fremont, but we were reconsidering when CPACE asked us to continue it. We are leaning toward continuing it, but then COVID-19 hit, and we stopped discussions. Honestly, your questions have brought it to the forefront of my mind again, and I will start pushing to end this program. So my concern is that if this county approves this program, that we are being reckless and irresponsible to future taxpayers in this county. The county treasurer has asked for 2 things. He has asked for an oversight by the commissioners on every loan that comes forward, and a program that has a bond for 5 years to ensure that the county receives the tax dollars from this project, from any project we approve. Because our goal, the treasurer's purpose, is to ensure that the county receives the tax dollars, the school receives the tax dollars, the Metro District, anybody who's involved continues to receive the tax revenue they are due from that property. So I would like to ask that this board slow this down, look at what the county treasurer is requesting based on what has happened in this state. And then after we review that and put something in place to protect the taxpayers going forward, that we then consider this again.
So I appreciate the discussion, and again, appreciate the input from our elected officials and citizens. But again, there's a logical flaw in particular reasoning when you talk about reasoning by example. And again, Fremont County is one out of over 2,500 examples of default for CPACE. So that's 0.07%, so it's less than a percent of potential default. Again, the county outlays nothing and recovers just like in a normal tax lien sale. And I'm not going to stand in the way of our economy recovering. So with that, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask you about your last statement. You said the county isn't out anything about a tax lien sale. What did you say?
So I was saying that it's under Title 32. The assessment lien continues to run with the land until paid in full. So it's not unique or different than in fact, it's a priority lien that gets paid just like any other lien would. We're not outlaying county resources. We're not going to do what Fremont County did. They made a bad deal with incentive dollars, and they're also about a fifth of the size of what Douglas County is. So I can't look at the one isolated % example to inform our decision here and stand in the way of millions of dollars coming into our economy and thousands of jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's the problem with the Fremont County with how they try to use incentive dollars out of that city's government funding and out of the county for the purposes of revitalizing a very specific property and then tied it up. I think what we're hearing from Debbie Bell, Commissioner Bell, is that ownership that they feel as a Board of County Commissioners. And if I recall properly, this is Canyon City. I mean, this was the municipal government also having that investment and feeling like, yeah, they did lose that initial investment. I would say that that's probably something we need to think twice about for moving projects like these forward with the CPACE funding, what we actually do to have a incentive investment ourselves. That's the biggest problem with this example being used is, it's not private ownership. It's not a tale of private ownership. It's actually a tale of a urban revitalization gone bad with control, with input and investment by the government. So, I mean, I think that's something for us to bear in mind as we're moving forward in terms of what we do with incentive dollars for any CPACE project that comes forward. That might be something we need to watch out for. But in and of itself, as a program, I go to my original comments. I mean, the role of government in America has been to defease the risk, for commerce. That's kind of goes to the reason why we have a constitution instead of the Articles of Confederation, quite frankly. Don't get me wrong. I'm a history geek. I've read pretty widely. I don't expect everybody else to go through my footnotes on this logic. But no, I'm still okay. I'm still in favor of moving forward. I do very much appreciate the comments by the treasurer. And I'm fully willing after today to consider staff advisory on what we can do to further participate and make this a better program through the county participation.
Thank you. I would like to submit this as exhibit number 3 for this hearing. And I guess I have a question for Carmen based on what Commissioner Teal just said. Carmen, are you still there?
Yes, I am still with you, Commissioner.
Thank you. So if we approve this today, is there some provision, because we still have to go through a step 2, as I recall, that we could put in there that we would review every single loan that comes forward, or would they just all automatically just happen?
If you wanted to make the 2 amendments that were discussed earlier, those would have to be changes to the participation agreement that the New Energy Improvement District Board, I believe their attorney is on the line, would have to approve. So if we adopt the resolution and participation agreement as currently written, the only options that we have to make changes are if there is an error or something clerical like that. But to change the agreement is something that has to be done and approved by the board before this board would sign it.
Thank you, Carmen. So Commissioner Teal, did I hear you say that you were willing to look at each loan before it was approved?
My comment was to the Fremont County program where there was incentive dollars involved in that project as well as a CPACE agreement. What I would want us to do moving forward is if we are brought an incentive agreement for a specific project, I don't know how much we do that here at the board. We did that a lot in Castle Rock on the town council. I want us to actually have CPACE participation in that project, a part of our deliberations on whether we participate with any sort of incentive dollars on behalf of the county. So kind of backwards from the way you just couched it, Madam Chair.
Okay. I will put on the record that I do not feel it is the role of government to be smack dab in the middle between a commercial building owner and a commercial bank. That's not what government is supposed to be for. Government is supposed to be for protecting our individual rights. And I will be a no vote on this, as I have been every time this has come forward to us.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, I would love to also submit into the record the legal opinion requested at the prior chair's request as of October 21st, 2019 from Michelle, Cox, and McCaskin, outlining the rationale for why CPACE and some of the parade of horribles that have been listed are just don't merit a whole lot of additional conversation, but certainly appreciate the continued input. I do welcome our elected officials and citizens' continued conversation on how to make this better. We do want them to hold us accountable and ensure that this is a good program for citizens that does not result in something like Fremont. And with that, Madam Chair, if there's no further discussion, I will make a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the Colorado New Energy Improvement District to conduct the CPACE program in Douglas County.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. No. That motion carries on a 2-to-1 vote. Thank you.
And Commissioners, for the record, that legal opinion would then be Exhibit 4 for today's hearing.
Thank you. And we have one other item today, which is on our supplemental agenda, which is item A, the resolution making an appointment to the Tri-County Board of Health. And I told Drew that she didn't need to be here tonight, that we could take care of this. So I'll introduce this. After one of our Board of Health members to the Tri-County Health Department resigned, we had a very transparent process. We advertised the position. We had 23 applications for that. The board went through and picked 4 of those 23 to go on to be finalists. We interviewed those 4. We ended up with 2 very highly qualified candidates, and we chose one, Dr. Linda Fielding, who works at Denver Health. She's also an adjunct faculty at UC Colorado University. Do either of you like to make any comments about Dr. Fielding?
I would, Madam Chair, thank you. It is an incredible honor to appoint somebody with such phenomenal experience and acumen as Dr. Linda Fielding. I think that our Board of Health benefits from somebody that has over 30 years of experience and a commitment to medicine and public health. So it's a real tribute to our county and the future of public health that we get to appoint Linda.
Question for the county attorney. Is there a requirement for public comment to this item?
There is not a requirement, but generally it is done. It is a standing rule of the Board of County Commissioners to allow public comment on every normal agenda item. So I would suggest you follow that procedure and at least ask.
Okay. Madam Chair, if I'm willing to hold my comment until after public comment and make it a part of our motion.
Perfect. Are there any citizens in the room who would like to discuss this item with the board? Seeing no one come forward, Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no new hands raised.
Thank you. I will close citizen comment and bring it back to the board.
Madam Chair, well, first and foremost, I think that during our deliberations, the 3 of us made it clear that Dr. Fielding was extraordinary in her interview. And of course, her resume was equally extraordinary. So it is really, considering everything else we've talked about today, my pleasure to make a motion to approve a resolution making an appointment to the Tri-County Board of Health.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Do any commissioners have comments at the end of this very long day before we end this meeting?
I have none.
I go back to my comments on our second item and just how happy and proud I am to be up here serving with you guys today. I thought this was a big day. I know we had some real nuts and bolts, but I really thought we had this is why we're here, to be here for days like this.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal and Commissioner Layden. I have to say that this day landed much better than I think some of us were concerned about, so thank you for everyone's cooperation. And that ends today's business meeting. Our land use and public hearing is scheduled to start at 3:30, and we will commence at 4:25. Thank you.